there's now so much content. It has exploded since AI has hit a few years ago now, and there's that too, where it's almost like it's just so much more noise, and I
Yeah.
guess it makes it so much more important to make sure you are different. Your voice is a little bit different. So, do you have any advice for lawyers on cutting through all the noise and getting their names out there so that their marketing efforts are not wasted?
Well, I think if we're looking at people, just like I was talking to a client the other day, and he's like, I'm posting all the time on LinkedIn. Look, I got super lawyer, and I got this, award, and I got that award. And I go, that's 20%. Like, that's 20% of what you should be posting on social media with your content. 80% needs to be informative, educational, interesting, authentic. I will do a post about fishing with my son, which is not for LinkedIn, right? Other than I then compare LinkedIn. I compare fishing to business development for lawyers. You got to have the right lures. You got to find the right spots. You got to do other, I'll relate it to an article from Above the Law that I've written. I'm going to make it work within the particular social media channel that I'm posting, but authentic, real information, education, showing your knowledge on things that other people don't know enough about. My friend that the one I was just talking about, who's in the M&A space, he knows what's going on in the economy better than anyone and how it's affecting business and how it's affecting deals and tariffs and how all that works. He says, I'm not going to get political, but I need to write and share my views and my knowledge because I'm ahead of everybody else. This is, again, and he is, he's on the forefront of it. And I think that's what cuts through some of the clutter that we're seeing on LinkedIn is how can you be authentic and how can you put something forward that's interesting to people when there's just a lot of mess out there.
I think maybe the best way I've seen it said is I wish I could remember her name. Russell Brunson had this event a couple years ago. It was a virtual event, and one of the speakers, she was talking about the different legs of her platform, her online platform, and like one of them was family, another one was her business, and yada yada yada. I thought it was a really interesting way. So like if I'll just kind of make it up, like with mine, maybe mine is you've got family, you've got the podcast, you got the law firm. I like jujitsu, so we'll say jujitsu. And then I know that you were in that plane crash, which I'm gonna ask you about in a little bit. But then you maybe me as a pilot. So like those are like the 5 things that I maybe will post about. But the majority of it needs to be adding that value, and you can kind of tie it back to the firm. For example, like let's say that I wanted to just post about like injury related stuff, but I'm flying an airplane and I'm going through my checklist. Maybe I post something about my checklist.
Yeah.
And how important checklists are in the law firm too. So you can still,
Yeah.
even though it's about flying, it's now back to practicing personal injury. So there's I think that is the way she had put it really changed the way I view things on social media.
Yeah, I think people are interested in what's real, and there's a lot of fake things out there. So we need to really demonstrate. But to your point, if I'm on Facebook, and I know that that's just a lot of my friends and family and other folks, I don't need to promote my business there. I don't need to relate it back to my business and how I help lawyers. I can just share, the big fish I caught with my son and know that they're going to appreciate seeing that. Or the paddle championship I won here in Chicago, which I did, which I'm very proud of. Nobody cares about that on LinkedIn, unless I can relate it back to something business. Because again, we don't want to make LinkedIn into Facebook. We want to keep it business related. We want to keep it as pure as possible, so that the people aren't going to get turned off by it. But that's where you got to really look at not only content creation, but how you're changing the content creation for the different and various channels that you may be putting things out on.